Good evening. Hi, good evening. My name is Mudita Vatavura and I'm a senior user experience designer, and welcome to the 99XT webinar. In today's discussion, we are going to talk about a very, a very cool but a very controversial topic, and a very nice to learn topic for a designer when he's entering, or when he's a pro as a designer. We are going to talk about the fundamentals of psychology for designers. In today's topic, we are going to talk about different theories and how to use color as a designer and use psychological principles to improve your designs and to give a very, very high quality design output for your clients and everyone else who is asking designs from you. So, we'll start. So, before starting everything, I need to tell you the story that I'm going to tell, at least a summary. This is the summary that I'm going to talk about. First of all, we're going to know what is psychology, then facts that influence people's behaviors, and we're going to talk about empathy, and then psychology in visual design. We're going to talk about Gestalt principles, Hicks law and Fitts law, and using color in your application. How to use colors in your application. So, what is psychology? People talk about psychology every day. When you go to meetups, when you go to webinars, you get to know psychology a lot. This is one of the most talked subjects in the new era. Using psychology, people can create better designs. People tell about it, but actually how to use psychology or what is psychology is to be known by you. According to Wikipedia, the psychology means a scientific study of human mind and behavior. So, how does it came to just psychology? It doesn't bring out by one day. It started from the Roman Empire, the era of Roman Empire, and to the ages of Renaissance, and to the modern age of psychology. And throughout that time, the psychology has evolved and evolved and evolved and come to a status where now is it now. And there are many people who has contributed to the psychology in general. And this is one person who has contributed to psychology and design in a huge manner. I think everyone knows him. His name is Don Norman. He has written the book Design for Everyday Things. The original publication was done in 1988, and before that everything was what we call user-friendly, and then we moved into usability, and then the user experience, the word has changed. But we need to tell that this is Don Norman himself is a psychologist that has done many researches and contributed to design as well. In my topics today, I am going to be very focused on how to apply psychology to your application. In this case, I am going to talk about specifically on how to create your own project from the scratch, and how to use psychology throughout the application. So we will start from there. So before going forward, I need to clarify one thing. We use beautiful designs. We create beautiful designs, very nice designs. We think that very nice designs can please people. Yes, up to an extent, you do. But when using user experience and design techniques is not enough, because a user experience can improve the user's overall experience about the product and give out a better experience to the user. But can it capture the emotions, the behaviors of humans? But that's why we use psychology as a part of design cycle, so we can improve the existing models and create a better version of design technique. So I was thinking that I think you can see the picture, and then you can see the images as well. And there's an application that I have done. So in this application, I'll take this application as a starting point. In this application, I did my own research, and I found few things about humans. There are triggers or points where that can influence someone to use a product or create a behavior. Shall we look into it? What influences humans to their behavior? First one, cultural facts. Most of you know these things, I guess. According to the religion, according to the religious groups, according to the geographic locations or the regions, their behaviors change. Like let's take an example, very simple example. Different ethnic groups in Sri Lanka has different ways of behaving according to their culture and how they are brought up. And the other one is the social facts. Most of the time, the family or the friends or the people or the groups that you are involved in create behaviors. When you interact, you create behaviors, and when you have elder people who are talking to you and telling you things, and you should behave like this, you should behave like that, and you take those values into your life, and then you start working on them. And the other one is the personal factors. Your age of which stage of your life you are in, your lifestyle, your occupation, your personality, all create behaviors. We'll take behaviors into personal factors. Like when you're at age 5, your behavior is somewhat, we call it childish. That's why you are in age 5. And then when you are in a grade age 17, 18, when you are young, you are very energetic, your behaviors change. And then when you get mature, you're like, let's say, example like age 30, 31, maybe 40, people change their behaviors according to their personal factors as well. So when I started working on the application, I looked into these kind of factors, because my target group or the target group that I am going to create an application are falling under these categories. I only picked 3 because of these 3 picks, like the values that I have taken are most common among every human in the world. So is it enough that understanding behaviors is it enough? We ask that question a lot, because it's not. Every human do empathize. People, when you say, I think everyone know the definition of empathy. If you don't know, you can read it. It's on the board. But most of the time, what we do is we mistake empathy as sympathy. Empathy is to experience and understand another person's thoughts, needs, and feelings and their condition from their perspective. When you are a designer, you should not think about someone else from your perspective and design, but think about from their perspective and start designing, because the problems that they might encounter, that they might feel, that they might think are not the same as you do. So when you empathize correctly. Since I start saying about empathy and sympathy, sympathy is to show care to someone. Like when someone feels sad, you feel like, this person is sad, I should do something about it. That's sympathizing. Empathy goes into 3 main categories: not empathizing, empathizing, and over-empathizing. Not empathizing means that you don't empathize, or you don't look into someone else's experience from their perspective, like needs, feelings, and conditions, but you think on your own perspective and do the work. Empathizing means you become one with that person and get into their shoes and start thinking like them. Then over-empathizing. Most of the time, over-empathizing goes with sympathizing. You confuse yourself with the user or the person who you are interacting with, then you are creating a mess out of the application. So empathy is about understanding someone from their perspective. And the other part is how to capture different people's needs and goals. Not only knowing their experience is enough, but to understand their needs and goals is also needed. We use a common technology, or the technique that we use is personas. Personas represent user groups who are going to be interacting with your applications, which are having unique values from one another. So in our case, if you are doing a startup, you have to have a persona ready for your application, and you should start working on it. Now, there's an important thing. The persona that I'm showing is not a normal persona. This is a combination of linear UX's auto persona and the empathy map. I will explain a little bit about this and tell you what's it about. When you use this persona, you'll be able to understand how they would feel, their pain points. The end result of it is to understand the pain points and the goals and needs of the target user group that you are focusing on creating the solution for. So what you have to do is to find, for the user group, you have to put the picture of the person and the name and the demographics and the characteristics of the person. And here, very important factors, we are taking what they are thinking and feeling according to their problem domain, which is cognition, and what they would hear and see, that is perception, and say and do, how their behaviors are working on a given problem scenario. And then we understand the pain points from the 3 points that I have told, and then goals and needs at the end of it, because we are trying to capture the goals and needs of every human who is going to interact, or the user groups who are going to interact with your application. Afterwards, then, after creating the hex persona, which we call it the hex persona because the hex team came with this persona model. After that, we are going to create a customer journey map where we see each and every touch point of the customer in the journey of using the application, and then understanding how they are going to interact with it. That I'm not going to talk about given the time permits, and I'm going straight away after analyzing we are gathering the data, we are analyzing the data, and then we are going for prototyping. But we are not going to talk about prototypes here, but we are going to talk about visual designs. That is after prototyping. When we create prototypes, and then afterwards we create visual designs. In visual design, we are going to talk about a very highly respected theory, which we call Gestalt theory. In this theory, we are going to see how the human eye preserves information from the outside world. The first theory is about the law of proximity. As you can see, the law of proximity says the states when the objects are close to each another, they tend to preserve together to a single group. You know, it's kind of gibberish, right? So I came up with an example. So in this scenario, we are going to talk about the law of proximity using a scenario. In this scenario, what we are going to do is, our goal is to visualize 6 different groups of 1 dot and 3 lines. The scenario is visualizing 6 different groups using 1 dot and 3 lines. On the right hand side, if you can see, they are clustered together. When you see that grouping, you almost like tell it's 3 groups because the lines are too closer. That creates, when the proximity is so low and the objects are so grouped, like close grouped to each other, we don't create 6 groups but 3 groups with 2 dots, which it's not correct in this scenario. But in a correct scenario, on the left hand side, we see that 1 dot and 3 lines, which is separated from a proximity where there is enough gap to show there are enough space, and the grouping is done within 1 dot and 3 lines. And the other principle, the law which we are going to discuss, is the law of similarity. The law of similarity states that the elements tend to preserve into groups if they are similar to each other. And I came up with a very common scenario where I see many web pages and they come up with this, our vision, mission, and our, I don't know, they have always have new things to say. So what they do is they put it in a single area and let the people decide what is it about. So let's look into the right hand side one, where you'll be able to see when you create an application, you create visual hierarchies from where to where you should watch. At the first glance, you'll be able to see the object in the middle, which is highlighted, and the brightness of the application, that object is higher than the other objects. That means you should focus on the first one that feels like the user needs to read first one and one in the middle and go to the sides, which is not correct if you are trying to show similar group values and similar groups. In the left hand side, you'll be able to see similar groups which has similar values, similar brightnesses and the sizes of the icons as well, which is the correct way if you are trying to show similar groups and similar values. And the third law is the law of common region. I learned this law in the hard way once I was doing a project and I completely screwed up on it. The law of common region states that the elements tend to be preserved into groups if they are sharing an area with a clearly defined boundary. So how do we look into it? We'll take, exactly what I did on the application on the right hand side. As you can see, when you don't have a boundary to show this is the boundary of this information which is not relevant to this area and which is not relevant to the one area on the bottom, you feel like you are when you give the design, you feel like this is everything is about the same thing. I think 46% and the 2 graphs, and it's about the same thing, right? And the designer says no, it's not. And you feel like no, it doesn't feel like that. Please come up with another design. Most of the time people go to that problem, then you create another design from scratch and you see like this guy is not allowing me to work. But by simply creating a boundary and show that information is categorized or put into a space where it takes only that space and it creates a boundary, people tend to identify that this information says about this only, and the 46% is about that 46%, and whatever the information that is down there is relevant to the 46% only. That is the correct way of having common region in your applications. In most of the time when we see that in B2B applications where you come up with loads and loads of graphs, charts and everything, but not in much in B2C applications, but there are scenarios where you see in B2C applications these kind of principles do come in. And the other very important scenario is the figure ground, the law of figure ground. When we are creating focal points in application, this is one of the key principles that you need to use. We create focus by what? when you go on a search, or when you have a call to action button, you need to show it more than other elements which are distracting at that moment, and you need to create that element visible to the users. In this scenario, I'm going to create a search bar when it's active. When it is active on the right hand side, but there's no visual change, you can't see the focal point of the application, then you might not know that the search is active or not. Sometimes you may click on it twice or thrice to see is it really active. But on the left hand side, when you click on the input box or the button, or maybe in the case not the button but the input box, it comes up and the background creates a kind of a, let's say it's kind of pop-up and create a focal point where the user focus on it and work. Then I understand and identify that this part is active now. Then I should type something. That is how understanding figure ground works. This is a very common principle that you can work on any application. And this is very common example of Gestalt laws. We call it the law of closure. The law of closure states that when we encounter a complex element with a missing part or with a missing with a break, we look to continue. Try to understand what is hidden, because human nature, we are very curious. That's why we found the fire. We found basically everything what we stand on. We found off because of the curiosity. Then we try to fill in the gaps. I think you have seen this a lot in, if you are a mobile user, if you are a fan of mobile user applications, where in Facebook, I think their stories are presented in a very similar way. On the right hand side, when you see that story, let's take this same example where Facebook stories are stored. On the right hand side, when you see that example, you think that the element for the right hand side or the left hand side are the final ones on that segment, and you are not curious enough to swipe whatever there. But let's say on the left hand side there is a missing element on the right hand side corner. Then you feel like, what is there? I need to check and see it. Then you start swiping because of the curiosity that you are having. That creates a suggestion to swipe. These are the very simple laws that you can have in your application. If you are a mobile application designer, or a web designer, or a user experience designer, any title that you have, but you are designing for humans, please do have these principles in your application. Then it will work for you as well. Then we are moving to a very complex principle, which is called Higgs law. Higgs law is a psychological principle which states that when you have more and more options available for a human takes much more longer time to make a decision of what to choose best for them. As you can see in the picture, there are so many buttons. I think it's from a Russian airplane or something. I think when you go to a cockpit, then there are so many buttons, and if the control asks you start the engines, then you might be in trouble thinking is it that, which is the best ignition. Then you get lost in the transition in between. So Higgs law says not to pass out all the chunks of information, but to show a minimum instead of information where the user will be able to make the decisions fast and proceed from there. We'll take another example where you go to buy wristwatches. I don't know whether you are a fan of wristwatches. Okay, noodles is better. Everyone likes noodles. So when you go to a supermarket or the website of supermarket, and then you put noodles as a search, you don't know what noodles is. You don't know which appetite you have at that moment, and then you put noodles. When you put noodles, if the application pulls everything out that is regarding to noodles, then okay, you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and list of noodles that you have to choose from. That takes your choices to days even. So what we do is we show a minimum set of information. Maybe you categorize some information saying, I don't know, spicy noodles, something instant noodles, something like that. Then you will like, oh, I like instant noodles. Then I proceed from there, instant noodles. Anything, I'm not that much into noodles actually, but for the example, I'm taking that noodles example. So that's how Hicks law works. Give minimum information to make a decision which is best for them, and then proceed from there to another level. That's about the Hicks law. Now comes a Fitts law. Fitts law is all about using the application and using the distance correctly in the application. When there's too much of time to you for you to go from an inbox, completing an inbox. I'll start with the example. This is the example. I don't know whether you're able to see the mouse. Okay, you can't see the mouse. If you can see, people read from left to right in Asian countries and European countries. When they fill the information out, most of the time you will fill the comment box at the last part. Then you have to come back all the way to the submit button. And the principle says, the longer the distance and the smaller the target, you're going to take a long time to complete the task. That is frustrating for the users to do. So you should be able to create the application in a more meaningful manner where, in this example, if you can have the actions as immediately on the right hand side possible, where user would end their journey on filling the application and then immediately to the submit button. That would be a good point, and that will be according to the Fitts. So it's kind of a mathematical law. Actually, I didn't went to that depth into an application design, and try to give out as minimum as possible for you guys. These are fundamentals, so you guys can start working on it. Then we will move on to a very controversial topic. I know people have many thoughts of talking about color. I usually, very simple way of communicating with you guys. Understand your color. When you try, many examples that we see, many people struggle with color. Many people don't know which color to put into a not input box, but to a button, and then to a let's say notification, and they get confused over it. And people define colors in many ways. I will tell you in the latter and the end part of the presentation. But my focus here is to make you understand how to apply color in your application meaningfully. Then there's another problem when you create your own startup, or when you have a client and you have to create the project from the scratch. The color is the most problematic thing. Then what you guys always have to do is to communicate. Communication is the key to understand, having good psychology in your application, and to have good user experience and have a good output at the end. So when you communicate with your client, and you should ask the following questions. You should be able to ask about the branding, about the product, and give out some colors according to the brand, whether the clients like it, and then you should look into your but your clients' competitors, and understand what they are looking into as colors, what their website are using, what are their flyers using, what are their billboards, cutouts, or whatever their marketing material that they are using. You should understand their colors, and you should ask, do you like to use these colors as well? So that would give a kind of a platform where you can start on when you are creating an application. So, but not only communication, but also having the psychological knowledge on colors will be a plus point for you guys. So I will start on this huge controversial topic in a very meaningful manner, and I have to say that these color theories differ from let's say cities to cities and countries to countries and to religions and let's say ethnics as well. These color theories, sometimes one color meaning in another country does not mean the same in another country. That is the sad part when it comes to color psychology. So I went with only two different color theories. Psychology behind cool colors. Now, cool colors always come up with, green, blue, or purple, which colors are mostly calming and smoothens the, environment. You feel cool, you feel good, you feel comfortable. And in the other cases, sometimes you feel sad as well. That's mixed with emotion. The cool colors have, cool calmness, happy, not just happy, you feel calm, feel relaxed, and you feel sad as well. And most of the time, like a mixture of blue creates kind of a security. When using some banks, they use this theory where they use blue a lot and have to, in their brandings as well, where they show blue color, then they feel like it gives an impression where it's safe, it's good to invest on there. Their investments are safe. And sometimes the colors such as green comes up with health and sometimes eco-friendly feeling. Those kind of things happen, but these values are highly perspective according to the user groups or ethnic groups or the countries or the cities that you are trying to focus on. And these are cool colors happen because when you interact with these colors, these colors land straight on the retina of human eye, and it doesn't have much stress on the muscles in your eye, so it feels so cool and relaxed to work and be on and just look into. And let's look into this color. How easy is to look into this color? Wow, I just can look at it and look back, and I don't want to look at it again because that's so bright. Red, orange, and the yellow are the most warmest colors. Can be the most warmest colors in this in the color wheel, and people use these colors to show. Basically yellow people use for showing happiness, joy, those kind of feelings, and sometimes energy. When you see, go to when you Google and see light bulbs, most of them are in the yellow color, showing that you have ideas are generated from the color. Those kind of things can be seen, but these colors are very irritating to watch for a long time. But I think that won't be a problem when you go to McDonald's and see the large M in the yellow color. It creates certain appetite because people tend to get a certain appetite when you stare into the yellow color a lot and the red color sometimes. There's a huge controversy. I will come back at the latter part of our presentation, and this is where things get tricky. Using colors for marketing. People use so much of color when it comes to marketing their products. There are so much of things. Let's take a very rugged, wristwatch we call G-Shock. They use black color. For their marketing, they use black color, and Nike as well. There are two different colors, but they have two different distinguished messages. When G-Shock uses black color to show that it's very rugged, that you can use it in a harsh environment, that you can use this in a very, we can drop it in the sea, you can crush it, but it will work. That is their message. That is to show that it's strong. And you can use blue color to show that it's safe, that is durable. Nokia, it's durable. You can use it for anything, and it still works. Those kind of things we can come up with when marketing. And I will go to a very funny example. Why Coca-Cola comes up with red color? It shows it portrays prioritized power, excitement, energy, and passion. In other countries, if you go to a traffic light and you see red, it doesn't show power, excitement, energy, and passion, but it shows a different message. But in Coca-Cola, their message is to show power, excitement, energy, and it stimulates certain amount of an appetite when you look into a warm color, and they are using it to brand their product as well. So that brings up to us speedily to the very important topic, and it's called the end. So thank you very much, and if you guys and girls have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, what color you should use for background? That depends on what type of application that you are doing. Most of the time people say background, but white is also a color that we misjudge. White is also a color because when you use white, it creates white space and it creates elements to work with. If you are creating a very sporty, like let's say surfing and extreme sport, I don't recommend white color, but I would recommend a very warm color where you have red, yellow, maybe not exactly. Okay, you can use yellow. You may be black to show that extremeness, to show the color of that, then to show the message as well. Then you are showing royalty, like jewelries or high-end wristwatches. Then you should be using. Sometimes these are highly perspective. Then you can try and you can use black and purple, because the purple color is one of the royalty colors at the many years ago, like 2, 3, maybe 400 years ago. It was the color of the royalty. So you can use that color to show the royalness. And if you are using other colors, I think if you are using a color for a website to show their portfolios, I think it would help if you can use white. If you are having that application in another manner, let's say you are using for a portfolio, sometimes people use dark UIs where to show that you are more into techie ones. If you are a techie person, then you are more into techie. Then if you are using kind of a very formal one, I assume that what you are trying to tell is that if you are using if you are creating a very formal application or a very very high end, like organization application, then I think that white would help a lot to convey good information. I think there are yes. I think I think I answered moving to I think most of the people they come up with this dark UIs. I think there are people who are in a very techie background. They come up with that dark UI that to convey information, but you have to be very careful when you are using dark UIs, because when you are trying to show that information and the text, it sometimes can get blurred, the images or the corners that can have problems. You can use dark UI and to create a good portfolio, no problem, but you have to use little bit of warm colors as well when you are using black or the dark UI, and have clear font, like readable, much readable fonts. Then it will be a good plus point for you. I think I hope I answered your question. If you feel like you need more clarification, please ask. I'm more than happy to help. I think there's another question coming in. Okay. Basically, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. For marketing website, market fresh products such as vegetables and fruits, what do you think warm color things? Like, like when you use warm colors, I know it gives an appetite. People tend to have appetites when it comes to warm colors, but it would be good. This is just a suggestion coming from a perspective. We have a universal saying of using green color, a cool color, to show and gain that idea that you are using an application where you sell fruits, eco-friendly stuff, and items where you can buy and eat. So if you can use green, I know that when come to fast foods, it's okay to use yellow color because you gain the appetite, you browse it quickly, and then you put the order and you finish it, and then that's done. But in a vegetable or market fresh products that you browse for a long time, then you have long thinkings whether to buy this vegetable or whether buy that vegetable, but then you don't feel the vibe, right? When you don't feel that vibe where you are using eco-friendly products and you are using fresh fruits. So I encourage you to use cool colors if possible, but that is coming from a very personal perspective with the knowledge of that I'm having at psychology. But if you can use cool colors, that will be good. But there's no danger of using warm colors. But I think the cool colors will fit the agenda and the what you are trying to sell better than the warm colors. I hope I answered your question. Clarifications are always here. Right, so I think that I have answered a few questions and no more questions coming in, and I thank you everyone, each and every one of you for coming in and joining in, and hope you enjoyed the session and learned something for your future. Oh, okay, the last minute questions always come. We are ready. Greetings, yes, okay. Right. Yes, wonderful. It's a very long topic when you start saying gradients. Yes, it's a thing still in design. We came up with, Instagram came up with the, marvelous logo that they created, and it made it almost a controversial in the world. Still, and after that, it became a trend. It's now a trend still. It's slow, trends always come and go, but still this is also fading away a little, because I think the gradients were before, when we were working with .NET, the earlier days, it was a thing where everybody wants to do gradients, like in 2000, year 2009, 8, those gradients were so cool, but I think still it's a thing. But I think there will be something maybe in the next year would be coming in to replace gradients. Okay, there's an assailer which is saying giving the user a fresh way of doing tasks versus usual way of most of the dashboards are side customer putting buttons. Okay, Sil, I'm trying to read your question. Giving a user fresh way of doing a task versus usual way of. Example, in most of the user dashboards, there are sidebars. Removing it, putting buttons. How would the psychology affect from your perspective? Sela, if I understand your question correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong, and then you can rephrase me. I think you missed a comma somewhere. Buttons. You're thinking like removing sidebars or putting buttons or having buttons, and I think I'm a bit lost in this question. I think the answer is coming. Okay. I mean, changing the usual way of. Okay. Yes. I get your idea. You know, it's a very good question, Asila, because most of the time we use certain set of ways when we start designing. When you let's say, let's take an example where you have a dashboard and you have sidebars. Sidebars work because it was there for a very long time, and it's been tested hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and it works for people. And when you implement something new, it's something out of the ordinary, and then people have to understand what you are going to convey by your message, by removing, let's say you are trying to add a button, you are trying to add this the hamburger menu without showing the sidebars, so the sidebars can come in. So these things are said, I think, improving with them. We don't have to stay in the old cogwheel or the old swimming pool where someone has poured the water many years ago, but we can improve your design, but you have to do loads of testing, because if you don't do testing and then go to a product design and then you develop it and you put it into the market and the people do not understand, the only the feedback that you can get is mostly can say negative, but don't take it the wrong way, but do a research properly, because that depends on the user groups that you are trying to interact with, and people might not have the knowledge when something is suddenly changed, but you can do it incrementally in the sense you don't have to remove all the sidebars at once, but remove something and have a very prominent button or a prominent interaction there, so the users will understand, this has been removed but this is there. I think this does the same thing, so we click on it and then we will work on it, and then they will understand that part, and then you can incrementally go through the application changes. But that's why we don't do a facelift for an application a complete makeover, but we do makeovers incrementally. I think you came up with a very valid question, but I think if you can do the changes incrementally, there will be less frustration for the users, and there will be less training for the users, and there is less learning curve for the users as well. That would, I think, I help your question. I think that is the last question, and thank you very much for joining in again, and hope you enjoy the session. Thank you very much.